I'll just kind of quickly introduce myself. I know many of you know me already, but I also see some new names. So I'm Hardik. I'm one of the founder at Xenett. I'm also an accountant, just like you guys. And auto review was actually born from my own experience, right? So review was one of the kind of process that I personally thought that could have, I mean, could be done in a better way. So that's what motivated us to create a platform like auto review. Those of you I mean, they kind of don't have much clue about what exactly it is. So auto review is an intelligent cleanup tool that's going to connect with your QuickBooks Online and Zero file, and it's going to find possible errors, put them into one place so that you guys can quickly see and fix it, right? Auto review will kind of streamline the review process, and thereby it's gonna help you expedite your closing process. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. All right, so the screen is set, and we'll just walk you through the application now. All right, so many of you may find many of the stuff repetitive because I want to make sure that I cover even the basic stuff, just for the fact that there are a lot of new people who have joined. So the way this platform works is that if I go back to the practice, where you can see list of all the clients and you can find out the status for each of them. We recently added some new features. We had this new feature webinar before a couple of, I think couple of weeks, yeah, couple of weeks, wherein we introduced client portal and Zap Mode. So I'm also going to touch base on that. So practice dashboard, I mean, we kind of made some changes. This is going to help you know where does your each client stand. Okay, when you click on the client name, it will then take you to that particular client now. Okay, once you are into the client, the very first thing that you're gonna do is select the review period. Now this is where the selecting the review period is pretty flexible. You can select 1 month, or you can even select the multiple months as well, which means if you need to do monthly review, if you need to do quarterly review, or even if you need to do the whole year review, the annual review, you can do that as well, right? A lot of people also use this for two other purposes: one for cleanup projects, and even for the diagnostic review purpose. So just in case if you guys got a lead and you wanted to find out whether the books is in good shape, bad shape, so here by selecting the period, like in this case I selected January to December, it's gonna immediately pull up all the review points results here, and this will give me an idea about the different abnormalities. Okay, so for the purpose of this demo, I'm just gonna select July to September, and I'm gonna just say run. Right, it's just gonna take a couple of seconds, and it's just gonna populate this left panel. Now let me just give you some idea about kind of what this screen is all about. We call this screen speed mode. On left side you're gonna see different review points, right? Most of them come default whenever you add any client. At the same time, it will also allow you to create your own custom review points. Okay, so once you've selected the review period, you will have to start the review process, because that is how you are telling auto review that I'm about to start the review for this particular period. Okay, so once you've done that, one by one we need to go through each of these review points and then take appropriate action. Okay, so let's ham into and categorize entries, and as an accountant my role here would be to reclassify all these transactions to appropriate accounts. All right, um, so in this case, let me just give you an example of autospot here. Now I want to see if at all there are any transactions for autospot in the past, because I want to see how exactly those were coded so that I can actually kind of reclassify it accordingly. It's very simple. All you have to do, just right click on it and say smart search. You can immediately see all the transactions for autospot. You can see most of them went to automobile. Just close it. You can come here, just click on this uncategorize, just say automobile, right? And you can just save it from here itself. So whatever changes that you make in here, it will immediately get updated back to the QuickBooks file. Okay, so that's the kind of easiest and quickest way of searching anything for vendor. There is another way that you can do it. You can also use this as well. You can just type in here auto spot and it's immediately gonna kind of bring up the transactions for that vendor. It's a same way, it's just that we improvise. Now you can do it with the right click as well. So that's one thing that you can do. Now let's say there are a few transactions for Amazon.com and I really don't know what are these all about. So I can actually ask questions to my client from here. All I could do, I'm gonna select them all. I'm gonna say, hey, ask, right? And I'm gonna say, what are these transactions for? And these are template questions, by the way, that you can also set it up, right? So if there are some questions that you frequently ask to your client, you don't want to write it manually all the time, you can create the template and all you have to do, just click on it and just say ask. Okay, it's pretty simple. On one click, it will be asked to the client. Now, even before you come here and you start asking the question, this is not enabled by default. What I mean by that is that client portal is something, it's optional. I mean, you have to decide whether you want it or not, and that is why you need to enable it. So when you click on this menu, you're gonna click on client setting, and then there's a client portal that needs to be enabled here. Once you enable, then and then you will be able to ask questions to your client. The way it's gonna work is that you can invite your client, right? Your client's gonna get an email and they will be able to set up that account, right? And they will require to set up a 6-digit PIN, right? And this is what all they have to remember, right? It's more like a mobile passcode that they have to remember. So that's how you're gonna be able to enable the client portal, and you will be able to invite your client users from here. Okay. Now in this case, which I just showed you, that like you can easily ask questions on any transactions, and the moment you have asked those questions, this icon will also be colored so that you will know that there is some sort of question asked here. So that's one way to ask questions on any transaction. Another thing that you could do here is that you can also ask non-transactional questions, right? So there's an ask button here. You could say, hey, can you send me bank statement for Jan 2022, right? And then you can simply ask those questions from here as well, and it will be simply asked. Now, one thing to note here is that whenever you ask any questions to your client, it does not send an individual email, right? Because we definitely don't want to kind of make our clients bombarded with so many emails. So there are a couple of ways how your clients are reminded, right? One is that you can schedule the reminders in a way that, like, you decide when you want to remind your clients automatically, right? You could say that, hey, every Thursday 5 p.m. I want auto review to send a reminder email. Now the email will only go out if at all there are open questions, right? If there are no questions open, then the email will not go out. So that's one way you can schedule the reminders. Another way is that you can also do it on demand. So there's a menu here called client questions. When you click on it, right, you will see an option called notify client. It's just gonna open up an email that will go out to your client. You can actually change the text if you like, otherwise just click on send and it's gonna send an email to your client as well. So this is more on demand. I mean, generally this is preferable. It's like, let's say just now I added 10 more questions and I want my client to look at it now, I might just initiate this reminder as well. Okay, so that's how the clients are reminded. This is the place where, as an accountant, I can see all the open questions. Okay, this is the best way because now I have a clear visibility that, okay, hey, these are all the questions that I'm waiting for my clients on, right? So now if we think from the client perspective, right, they have got their own view. Okay, and I'm gonna bring it up that as well. So this is what your client's gonna see, right? Now your clients can respond here. So in this case, as a client, I can also update the account as well. Like in this case, I could say, hey, this was, let's say, office equipment, and this was, let's say, office supplies, right? If I have any receipt, I can also attach it here. Like I can say, hey, here you go, this is the attachment, and I can simply attach it, and I can say send and close, right? It will be updated then. So that way, let's say this one resolve issue not found, I don't know why, but anyways, so what can happen here is that the moment clients submit the response, all those questions will also get updated here. So it's super easy because now it's going to eliminate the whole back and forth long emails, right? You don't have to send them an Excel and then they have to download and things like that. You can see all the responses here, and you can make all the changes here itself. So that's kind of recent addition that we kind of did last week. All right. So what's going to happen is that one by one, as an accountant, my goal here would be to reclassify all these transactions to appropriate accounts. Okay. So then I'm gonna move to the next one that says entry posted to parent accounts. Now, one thing I also wanted to bring it up here is that each of these review points, you're gonna find this info icon, and you're gonna find out a brief description about that. So just in case if you are not sure what exactly it's all about, you can just put your mouse on this info icon, and you will find this info icon everywhere. So that's gonna give you a quick brief, and then it also has a detailed article, like the kind of all the details along with the videos as well. So this can also help you guys. Okay, so that's a quick tip. Then it says entry posted to parent account. So I'm pretty sure most of you guys would come across this. If at all there are transactions recorded to parent accounts, which ideally should be recorded to sub accounts, it's gonna show up here, and it needs to be moved to the sub accounts. All you could do, just select them all. Like in this case, I can select them all, and you can also use this, by the way, to select them all. And you could say, in this case, let's say if all this automobile transaction I wanted to move to, let's say, one of the account, let's say office expense or whatever, and I can save it here. So I can also do bulk changes here as well. So that's pretty simple. We also introduced delete transaction in the last release. This wasn't previously available, so just in case, and this is generally helpful with the duplicate entries. So just in case if you found any duplicate entries, this will help you to delete even those duplicate transactions as well, right? That's that. Many of the review points are very much self-explanatory, so I'm not gonna get into so much of detail, but it's like you're gonna find out all the transactions without class, all the transactions without location, even without names. Okay, and all of those review points are configurable. So let's say I'm into entries without name, and there is a configuration here. So by default, I excluded journal entries and deposits here, but if you would like to change something here and there, you can do that as well. Okay, so that's that. Now all those review points that you see here on the left, you decide what you want to see and what you don't want to see. So there's a menu, you can say configure, and you can enable and disable them, right? So just in case if you would say that, hey, I really don't care about entries without customer or project, I'm just gonna get rid of it, and whatever changes that you make will only apply to the client that you are into. Okay, so that's how it's gonna work. Now I'm also gonna meanwhile touch base on some other features. Like while we talk about configure, you will be able to also export it into Excel as well. So that's pretty simple. While you can individually export each of these review points, it also allows you to export everything in one go, in one single spreadsheet. Okay, so this is where you can use this export all reports, and you're gonna find everything into one Excel spreadsheet. You can also play around in the table here, like here and there. So right now it's grouped by account, and you still further want to group it by vendor. You can also do it like this, just drag and drop. Now you can say it by vendor and all of those stuff. You can do it. You can change the columns here and there. You can do the sort. You can enable and disable columns. So these are some of the kind of basic features of table, and you can also play around with that as well. All right, so coming back to the review points here, now let me just talk about the duplicate entries. Now this is the kind of one of the cool features that we've got, is because we have designed some smart mechanism where if the transaction passes through certain parameters, it's gonna be considered as duplicate. All right, so the good example here is that there was a bill for Home Depot for 655, and if you look at the date 8:30, right, and at the same time there is an expense as well. Okay, an expense for Home Depot for the same amount, and even the date is somewhat closer. So auto review feels that, hey, this could be probably a duplicate because this seems to be a bill payment, but someone made a mistake, entered it as an expense, right? So things like this will be highlighted by auto review as a duplicate, right? So it's not like bill versus bill, right? It's not as simple as that. Like, I mean, it's definitely gonna find out if there are two bills for the same vendor, same invoice number. So the obvious duplicates will definitely be addressed, but we have also taken it to the next level where even the situations like this, bill and expense, it's going to be considered. Likewise, even with the invoice and deposit, right? So there is an invoice for 5674 and someone entered this deposit directly to the income account instead of applying towards the invoice, right? So things like this will also be caught as duplicate as well. So that is kind of the best way to look at all the duplicates, and then you can take appropriate action. And this is where I meant that just in case if you feel that if any of the transactions has been duplicated, you can simply delete it from here. Okay, so you can just click on it and you can delete it as well. All right, so that's that. Now duplicate names. With the duplicate names, this is also, I mean, one thing that does not really impact our bottom line or balance sheet for that reason, but it's important to clean this list, right? uh, all the identical spellings that you're gonna see, you're gonna find it here. Like, look at this, Lero, Joseph, there's some sort of mistake with the spelling, right? So things like this will be kind of show up here, and you can then get rid of them. Now you cannot merge here because of the limitation of QuickBooks API, but this eye icon will help you, will facilitate, because now it will take you to the QuickBooks file on that particular vendor so that you can easily kind of take appropriate action into the QuickBooks file. Now, just in case, let's say you have merged it into QuickBooks, you have to press this sync button, right? So whenever you press this sync button, it's gonna pull the latest changes from QuickBooks to auto review, right? If you are making any changes in auto review, you will not have to press this sync button, because we know that you have made the changes, so we automatically push it to the QuickBooks file. Okay, so that's how the duplicate names work. I'm just gonna take a real quick look at the chat. Just want to make sure. Yes, Tiffany, you will, for duplicate entries, you'll be able to see the reconciliation status as well. Okay, so that's that. All right, so that's that. Unreconciled entries will kind of will help you to see all the unreconciled entries at one place, rather than going into every single account and then review each, like, unreconciled transactions for each account. So that's the easiest way to look at them on one screen. And second, we also flag certain transactions like transfer entries not cleared, or deposits not cleared, or ACH payments not cleared. So things like this we basically highlight here. New vendors, new customers, I mean, pretty simple. At times we don't know which new vendors have been created, which new customers have been created, or which new accounts have been created. So this is the best way to quickly see and just decide that whether things look okay or not, because at times, I mean, especially I mean, again, this used to happen to me. Like my staff might just go ahead and create a new vendors, might just use the wrong account, and if it does not get corrected at this point, they might just continue the same account even in the future, right? So it's a kind of, I mean, I would say just have a quick look, see how it's been coded. If you see any mistake, you can just fix it at this point on, right? So that's that. Unusual entries, I don't have any records here, but just to tell you guys, the way it works is that, let's say you had a transaction for a vendor Amazon in January 2021. There were no transactions at all since then, but now all of a sudden you notice one transaction recorded to the vendor. So what auto review kind of highlights here is that, hey, it looks unusual because there have been long interval, there were no transactions since long, and all of a sudden there are transactions now. So it just draws your attention, and then you can have a quick look and then just quickly review it, right? So that's that. This one is also cool. Review vendors, customers, and GL list, where you can see list of all the vendors that haven't been used for a while, but these are still active in your QuickBooks file. See, this vendors is something that we keep creating. I mean, there are a lot of credit card vendors that we keep creating every now and then, but we don't really clean them up, right? I mean, as such, it does not impact the financials by any means. So, I mean, who cares generally, right? So this is where we kind of put the last entry date, and we allow you guys to select all those vendors which haven't been used for a while and make them inactive on one simple click. So you can select multiple of them, make them inactive, and it will be inactivated in your books. Okay, that's the best way to make sure that your vendors, customers, and accounts list are clean and accurate. Account balance checks is something that where you can see if at all you were expecting any account to be zero, but it's not zero. You were expecting some accounts to be positive, but it's not positive. Like cash on hand, you were expecting it to be positive, it's not, so there's a conflict there. So things like this, if at all, if the account balances are off, then those will be highlighted as well. Okay. Review expenses is something, the best one. Like a lot of our customers love this report is because now they can see an overview of all their expenses just by scrolling it down, right? This is the best way to review all your expenses. It's grouped, it's summarized by vendor, by accounts, and then you can see the consistency and like across the months as well. So the way you can use this report is that, see, this is a vendor called Sam CPA. Generally, it's been coded to an account called accounting. In one of the month, someone made a mistake, put it to a wrong account. So this is where auto review understands the trend of the vendor, and it flags certain unusual accounts. In this case, it flagged bookkeeping fees because of the consistency. The trend says it should go to accounting, but in this case, it kind of was a different account, so there's a flag there. Now, there can be two things. One, it could be a problem. If it's a problem, you're gonna click on the amount and you're gonna fix the transaction just by clicking on the account, change it to accounting, and it will be fixed. Okay. But now if you say that, hey, no, this is not a problem, right? And you want to tell auto review that, hey, this is fine, just click on the flag and say add this GL to configuration, which means auto review will not show you flag for that account like anytime in the future. So that's how you handle the flag. At the same time, along with highlighting problems with the GL misclassification, it's also going to highlight any problems with the amount. So in this case, it understands that it was supposed to be 400 all the months, but in this month it kind of, the amount was different, right? So this is where you see the flag here, right? And because it was expecting 400, again, same thing. If it's a problem, you fix it. It's not a problem, you click on the flag and you get rid of the flag as well. So that's how you basically tackle. Now this review report has got two views, one by pay and by GL as well. So this is kind of just gonna do a vice versa kind of thing. So now you can see your account, and underneath you're gonna see the vendor name as well. So that's another way of, it's more like a, imagine when you click on the any profit and loss account, you look at long list of transactions, right? So this just summarizes it, right? So this is that view. So this is review expenses. Now until here, review expenses, actually everything come default. You don't have to actually set up anything. um, but if you need to create your own custom review points, you can come here on save such views, and you can create custom review points as well. So here you can click on add, and there are various parameters using which you can actually create your own custom review point. So let's say I wanted to add one review point called show me any fixed asset transaction um, which are less than $2,000. I'm gonna say line amount, and then I'm gonna say less than $2,000, and I'm gonna save it as well, right? So if there are any client specific review points, then you can come here and save it as well. Once you save it, it becomes part of your workflow. You're gonna find it here. So it's super easy because now you don't have to remember about it, you don't have to go and look for it, it's just right here. So it's pretty simple for me. I'm just gonna click on it. I can see there are 6 transactions which are less than $2,000, and I feel that this all should be expense. I'm gonna select them all, and I'm gonna say, hey, this is all office expense, and it will be done. I'm gonna apply the changes, and it will be then done. Okay, so that's pretty easy. So again, I mean, I also created one more review point that says, hey, show me any fixed asset purchases without receipt, without attachment as such. So in this case, I want to make sure that I have an attachment for every single fixed asset purchase. In this case, I don't have it. So in this case, I'm gonna select them all. I'm gonna say ask need receipt, and it will be immediately published to the client portal as well. So my clients can then upload the receipt as well. So that's kind of pretty legit. All right, so as you can see, one by one, we need to go through each of these review points. Now, you notice that some of the review points are in green, some of the review points are in black. So the way it's going to work is that anytime when we are done reviewing something, so let's say I'm into negative and zero balance vendors, right? Uh, Once we have kind of cleared it up, I'm going to sign off. So this is the process where when you do sign off, it's going to increase the percentage, right? And it's going to turn this review points into the green. So that way you will be able to see, because this is also generally helpful for the reviewers, because imagine when your staff has gone through this, and if you see that most of these review points are turned into green, that means that it's telling you all of those review points have been reviewed by your staff, and you can also see the progress percentage. Now, a lot of our customers have also demanded or requested that they also need new sign off. I mean, the sign off for themselves. So that's another thing that we are actually coming up with. That I mean, it's going to be optional that the preparer or the primary staff can have their own sign off, and the reviewer can have their own sign off as well. So that's coming up. So that's that. There is one more thing that I wanted to also bring it up here, is that we have a transactional level sign off as well. Okay, so what I mean by that is that let's say you are into these duplicate entries, and there are 2 transactions for Amazon. Now, if it's a duplicate, you're gonna delete it, but if it's not duplicate, then you want to get rid of it from here, right? So all you have to do, you can use this sign off, and it will disappear from here. Basically what sign off means is that you're telling auto review that, hey, this is fine, and hide it from here. You can do the sign off, and then it will disappear from this review point. So this sign off you will find across everywhere. Even when you go to duplicate names and you feel that this is not duplicate, like this one, it's not duplicate, you're just gonna do sign off, and it will disappear from these review points as well. Okay, so that's the best way to also do the sign off. All right, so now uh, the whole workflow is gonna work like this. One by one, we're gonna go through each of these review points, and at the end, you're gonna jump on profit and loss and balance sheet as well. So our goal is that by the time you go to profit and loss and balance sheet, I mean, you would have kind of fixed all of those review points. So you will not have to worry about kind of finding the duplicates or finding the inconsistency and kind of bookkeeping issues kind of thing, because all of those points would have already been resolved. So at this point, whenever you're on profit and loss or balance sheet, it's more like a comparative analysis. And to make it easier, what we have also done here is that whenever you put your mouse on any of the amount, it's gonna give you a quick comparison, right? Because we don't want you to enable so many columns, or we don't want you to jump between the reports to compare or to analyze the numbers. Just put your mouse on any of the number and you're gonna find the quick comparison just like this, along with the variances as well. You don't have to calculate variances and things like that, right? So that's that. Now, I also wanted to talk to you guys about one more feature which we actually introduced a couple of weeks back along with the client portal, and we call it Zap Mode. So far, as you would have seen, auto review was just telling you that, hey, you got this problem, you got this problem, you got this problem. But now we have kind of taken it to the next level, where we now also gonna suggest you some sort of suggestions wherever we can. So you're gonna find this icon called Zap Mode here, right? And we call it Zap. So the way it's gonna work is that it's kind of more like a card view or more like a bank feed concept, where it's telling you that, hey, you got this transaction for ADP. Right now it's coded to payroll expenses account, but we suggest that it should go to payroll processing fees account, right? Now there are a lot of mechanism, kind of the whole logic written behind the scene, where we suggest you based on some parameters, and our goal would be that we give you most accurate suggestions, right? So that most of the time you can just accept it, right? If you don't want to accept it, just say dismiss and it will disappear from here. So right now, I mean, we just started with GL misclassification, because but then we're gonna add more and more parameters, right? So the next thing that we're gonna planning to do is entries without name as well. So it's gonna read your memo and it's gonna suggest you the vendor name based on your memo as well, right? So the whole concept here is that we don't want that you guys go through every single such transaction, first of all, then find out the issue, then find out what's the right thing to do, and then fix it, right? Instead, it's super easy. Just say accept, 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 and within seconds you can actually resolve 15, 20, 30 transactions just like this, right? So very soon it's gonna be also, we're gonna start sending you some email notification as well. So our goal is that things like this don't have to wait for the month end, right? I mean, it can be done, I mean, easily. It can be done anywhere while walking or traveling or anywhere, right? So our plan is to send you guys some sort of suggestions so that can easily be fixed while you are on the go. So that's what the whole concept of Zap Mode is all about. All right. So that's that. We also have a dashboard here, which is also going to be revamped very soon with our upcoming future release. Right now it has got reconciliation status, where you can see list of all your bank accounts. You can see the quick profit and loss snapshot, and you can also see the transactions count as well. Okay, so this can also help you the transactions count just to evaluate the volume. A lot of our clients use this information to evaluate and check the volume. So if at all, like, it's a huge, like, I mean, you can say it's been increasing, so they also use this mainly for the purpose of what I call revising their fees as well. And at the time for the, like, when they got a new lead, they also use this information to even quote them, right? So that's a dashboard for you. So that's kind of a whole workflow looks like. I'm gonna take now few minutes to explain you guys about our upcoming features. So as you have seen so far that auto review's primary focus has been towards finding the errors and kind of allowing it to make it super easy for you to fix it as well. So that's gonna continue for sure. I mean, we will keep adding more and more such review points, right? So that every single errors can be caught, right? So we will be adding a lot more parameters in coming months so that it can find every single of such errors. But at the same time, we have also received a lot of requests from our customers that like we also wanted to improvise the whole close process as well. So that is where we are heading towards, that we plan to introduce some sophisticated and organized close method where you can actually kind of create to-dos, you can manage your reconciliation, you can manage your workings inside auto review, you can initiate the internal communication as well, right? So I'll kind of give you a quick glimpse as to what I'm talking about real quick. So there is going to be something like this. So as you can see, there is just one speed mode, which is what we were saying, but then in the future it's just going to be one module of auto review, right? But then there's going to be a closed mode where you can systematically close all your reconciliation, all your closing activities, right? So just to give you an example, in front of you there is a bank account here. You can have your own to-dos, right? Like it says review unreconciled transactions, right? So when you click on it, it's immediately going to bring up all the unreconciled transactions in front of you. You don't have to go to reconciliation report and then open up the bank account and all those stuff. It can be directly linked here. It's just gonna open up inside auto review. We can quickly review it, fix it. You can have your checklist here just in case if there are any specific review guidelines that you follow. You can also create them in form of checklist. You can also prepare your reconciliation as well. Like you can see the bank account, it's gonna pull up the bank balance from your books. And then just in case if you guys are creating any sort of working papers, like putting the bank statement any sort of working papers, you can attach it here so that the difference can be like you can also reconcile it that way. So this is generally helpful just to make sure that you are reconciling all the accounts. And it's also important for the reviewer's perspective, right? So as a reviewer, imagine if my staff has prepared it, I don't have to go anywhere. Just by looking at this, and when I click on the amount, I can see how they have reconciled. I can see the copy of bank statement here, right? So that way it also makes it super easy for reviewer to also do that. And if at all there are any communication that has to happen either with your staff or with your client, that can happen at this point itself. Like you can initiate the internal communication. Let's say I got some question for my staff, I can do it from here as well. I don't need to go to Teams or Slack or whatever platform, whatever other platform. I can just do it here. So that way it's pretty easy to track, right? And you can easily see the history as well. Likewise, if I need to communicate with my client, I can also do it from here as well. Uh, we can also leave some review notes, right? So that way, I mean, if like as a staff, if I know I'm gonna be asked some of the questions, I can leave some sort of notes here ahead of time. So that kind of thing that can happen here. So that's pretty much like the close module to-dos. They're going to be a dedicated profit and loss review where we also going to highlight our flag, just like we saw flag on review expenses. We're going to be flagged profit and loss, balance it, and kind of it's going to tell you that, hey, this looks much more higher than your averages, this looks much more off than your previous month or previous year same month, and things like that. So that is where we are heading towards. And we expect that, I mean, most probably by end of this year it should be up and running. And along with this, there will be a lot of other changes that we are coming up with. There will be, as I mentioned, there are going to be new review points will be added, but at the same time we also gonna be adding a dedicated files module where you can see all the files that have been uploaded in your system by clients, by you, can be found here as well. Reports is something we also gonna be improvising it. So the way it's gonna work is that you're gonna be able to create the package. See, right now we have got the reports, but these are the basic versions, in a way that these are more limited from the review perspective. But we are actually going to take it to the next level, where you will be able to create the packages, like the whole report package that you can share with your client, right? So these are kind of lot more changes which are coming up later this year. So I just thought to give you guys a quick update about that. So I think that's kind of whole workflow, different features, and what our roadmap looks like. I'm also gonna quickly touch base on few couple of other things. Is help center. I'm pretty sure many of you guys already know, but we do have pretty robust help center where you can reach out to us. You can send a chat message, just in case if you need to search something, come here and search something. There are a lot of articles written, and most likely you can find the answers from these articles itself, right? Just in case if you don't, feel free to reach out to us as well. There are a lot of video tutorials available. You can also schedule time with us, where in case if there are at all any questions, you can speak with us as well. We work with practices, we help them onboard, we help them train their staff, right? We recently kind of did the specific refresher training for some of our clients, because they have their certain specific ways how they have implemented auto review. So just in case if you guys feel a need of setting up such session for your practice, you can also book one. All right, most of our features actually come from our customers requirement, or our customers kind of desire list, wish list. So we also have a way where you can also submit your wish list. So there is a plus icon here, and you can do you can submit your ideas. And we kind of, I mean, there's also a way to vote that. So if you click on ideas, there are like votes available and all those things. So at times we have to prioritize stuff, right? So I mean if we get the most votes, accordingly we prioritize. So that's also another way that you can suggest your ideas as well. You're gonna be finding anything new that's happening at Xenett. You're gonna find it at announcement column. And just in case if you guys need to look at our roadmap, it's also gonna be available here, right? So that's that. um that's pretty much it. I'm just gonna quickly look at the chat, just want to make sure if... Oh, so Caroline, okay, I think you already answered, so that's fine. uh, so just as you guys know, even the client portal, we actually just released the first phase only. There are also kind of some cool features that are coming up for the client portal. So there is one thing that we are planning to do is the voice note as well. Like client can access it on the mobile, client can leave the voice note as well. If they don't want to type long things, or they don't want to explain it, they can do it through their mobile, leave a voice note as well. So that's one of the cool feature which I thought to mention. So that's also coming up. So that's pretty much it from my end, guys. So feel free, just in case if you guys wanted to unmute yourself and ask any questions, you can also do that, just in case if you haven't already asked, right? So meanwhile, I'm just gonna look at the chat real quick. So client portal, also gonna, I think I just saw a question about the client portal. So I'm just gonna quickly show you So this is what clients gonna see, right? It's for them right now, it's pretty straightforward. They're not gonna find out what you see everything in auto review, right? All they're gonna find out, or all they're gonna see is the questions. That's it, right? Questions we have segregated into two main segments, one transactional and the non-transactional as well. Okay, and the workflow is also pretty straightforward. Whenever they respond to any questions, it's gonna be moved to the resolve tab, right? So that's how it works. And as an accountant, whenever you get a response from your client, you will have an option. So on accountant side as well, there's a kind of specific space where you can see all the client questions, and then in here, uh, either like there's a specific to review tab. So whenever client responds, you're gonna find the responses here, right? So that way, you all kind of clearly see that these are all the things that you need to work on. So either you can close it or you can send it back to your client as well, right? So that way, if you close it, let's say you got the required answer, you resolve it, and then it will be moved here. So client portal is also pretty straightforward at this point. Let me just,
Hardik,
yeah.
sorry, this is Sandra here. I just wanted to ask you, in that portal where they actually, once they respond and you go to review, I don't see where you can change the tax code in there. I can see you can change the account, but you can't change the tax code.
Okay. So tax code, yeah, Sandra, right now it's not available, but yes, that's a good point. We will definitely be kind of getting that as well.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Tax code, yeah, you're right. I mean, for client, it's not there yet. Yeah. All right. What are the different things that we have? No fees. It's all included. There is no separate fees for client portal as such. It's all included. Whatever you're paying for auto review, it's all covered. So our standard fees is $7.50 per month per client, and it's all inclusive. So all right. Anything else, guys? So as I mentioned at the start of the call, we will be having these sessions every month, but in between also, just in case if you guys wanted to request any such calls for your practice, we'll be more than happy to work with you guys and also train your staff. We customize our training based on your needs. So I mean, you can let us know, we can accordingly design it, and we can train your staff as well, because we also understand that you guys are also super busy, and at times, I mean, you may not have enough time to train your staff. So I mean, you can use us for that. So
Perfect.
hello.
Thank you for that, Hardik.
Yeah, Ivana, thank you. All right. Any questions, guys? Otherwise, we will be all good then. And there is also private labeling. I kind of just saw Tiffany's question. So we will be also be able to do the private labeling as well. So just in case, see right now it says portal.xenett.com, but you can have your own domain as well, like portal.xyz.com. So I mean, you can just let us know. We can apply that private labeling, and you can, I mean, client wouldn't figure that it's coming from Xenett. So
Okay, thank you.
all right, guys, then I think looks like we are all set. So unless you guys have any questions, feel free to bring it up. Otherwise, we are all good. And even if you come across any questions, yes, the Tiffany, the white level is it's gonna be available. Not now, but it's gonna be available most likely next week or the week after. So just in case, like if you guys can think of any questions, feel free to reach out to support or me or whatever the easiest way that you figured, and we'll be more than happy to answer. So okay guys, thank you very much for your time. I hope you guys found it helpful, and feel free to bring your stuff in future, just in case if you guys feel need. So that's it. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next session. Thank you. Bye. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah, bye.